This is The Gist, the essential podcast for the discerning listener.
Welcome to The Gist. It's Wednesday, August the 26th, 2026. I'm John.
And I'm Mary. We are your smart friends on the go. Every day, we cut through the noise to show you exactly who benefits from the day's biggest news and why. Let's get into it.
First up, the Gist view. Let's talk about tariffs. The US has been trying to tax its way to industrial independence from Beijing. But the data shows they've really just created a massive, very lucrative geographic loophole.
That's right. Look at Vietnam. In the first half of 2026, Vietnam racked up a staggering $114 billion trade surplus with the US. The Wall Street Journal notes that puts them ahead of Taiwan, Mexico, and even China itself.
But here is the catch. Chinese manufacturers aren't actually stopping production. They are just routing their components south into Vietnam for final assembly to avoid the import penalties.
Think of it like booking a direct flight, John, but the airline forces you to take a layover. You still get the exact same product. It just takes a little longer and costs you more.
Moving assembly across a border doesn't erase the reliance on mainland materials. It just slaps a hefty logistics fee onto the invoice.
So, who wins here? American politicians get to secure domestic votes by looking tough on imports, Chinese factories get to keep their export margins, and Vietnam gets a booming assembly industry. And who pays for it? The American consumer. Pushing assembly out of Beijing's direct jurisdiction does lower the threat of sudden state embargoes. It buys a little strategic security. But that physical friction carries a strict price, and it is paid entirely at the American cash register.
We saw this exact playbook in 2018. Washington put a 25% duty on foreign steel. Shipments just surged from unpenalized partners instead. According to the Wall Street Journal, that policy cost American buyers roughly $900,000 for every single domestic job it protected.
Moving to the global overview, let's stick with the consumer. Kohl's just reported lower second quarter sales. Middle-income shoppers are officially pulling back.
They are feeling the financial pinch, and it connects directly to those supply chain layovers we just talked about. The hidden inflation from rerouting goods drains domestic purchasing power. Shoppers are forced to be much more selective about what they buy.
From retail to big tech, Meta, the parent company of Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp, is paying out an $18 billion settlement. The Financial Times reports this stems from a child protection case in California.
$18 billion is a massive payout. But here is the real takeaway. State governments are using litigation to pull huge revenues out of tech companies.
Exactly. It's like writing a parking ticket to a billionaire. The state extracts the cash for its own budget, but they don't force Meta to actually change the underlying algorithms. The code that drives corporate profits stays exactly the same.
Meanwhile, in energy markets, oil futures are dropping. The Wall Street Journal points to optimism around diplomatic efforts in the Middle East. Specifically, things are calming down around the Strait of Hormuz. That is a critical shipping choke point between the Persian Gulf and the Gulf of Oman.
The US has placed tighter sanctions on Iran recently, but this price drop shows us something important. Purely financial pressure has a ceiling. At a certain point, total economic coercion yields a diminishing geopolitical impact.
Let's cross the Atlantic for the European perspective. We are seeing a massive political earthquake in Hungary.
Massive. Péter Magyar, Hungary's current prime minister, who recently ousted Viktor Orbán, just signed a sharp policy pivot. Politico reports that Hungary is formally declaring Russia a threat to Europe and the global order.
This completely dismantles Orbán's old pro-Moscow stance. Hungary is now firmly backing Ukraine's territorial integrity and its right to self-defense.
So why the sudden flip? It comes down to resource flows. The financial penalties of being isolated from Europe finally outweighed the perks of cheap Russian energy. The money stopped flowing smoothly, so the populists had to pivot.
It's a striking example of democratic correction. Voters saw their leaders drifting too far from the European mainstream, and they replaced them. The pen changed hands, and the policy flipped.
Looking north, Icelanders head to the polls this Saturday. Euronews reports they are voting on whether to formally resume negotiations to join the European Union.
A yes vote is widely expected, and that is going to put a lot of pressure on neighbouring Norway. Right now, Norway is outside the European Union, but inside the EEA, the European Economic Area.
Right. For those unfamiliar, the EEA is basically an agreement that lets non-European Union countries access the European internal market. If Iceland joins the European Union proper, Norway might be forced to rethink its own relationship with Brussels.
Finally, to the United Kingdom. There is an intense debate right now over the National Health Service. The NHS is famously free at the point of use, but it is facing severe funding shortfalls.
The Financial Times notes the government is debating introducing patient co-payments, basically charging a small fee for services. Advocates argue that bringing co-payments into the United Kingdom system would align it with the more financially sustainable models used by other wealthy nations.
Time for our daily temperature check. Today's underlying theme is the hidden price tag of friction. Whether it's routing Chinese parts through Vietnam, California extracting tech cash without fixing the actual algorithms, or the United Kingdom realising free healthcare needs a new funding model. The bill always comes due, and the everyday consumer is usually the one left holding it.
Spot on. Friction always costs money.
That's all for today. If you want to keep making sense of the world with us, come subscribe to the Gist Daily newsletter. It's totally free, reader-supported, and we'd love to have you.
Just tap the link right there in your show notes to get it in your inbox. No spam, just the facts. See you tomorrow.
The Gist, News Digest, and podcast are entirely written and produced by artificial intelligence. The Gist is out 3 times a day, every day, providing you with a liberal perspective on what to expect next. For more information and donations, visit thegist.online. Thank you for listening.